Welcome everybody. Today in today's vlog, I've got David, who is living in Medellin, Colombia. David, you are from the United States originally, though?
Yes, I'm from Houston, Texas.
From Houston, Texas, and you've been living in Medellin 5 years. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, 5 years. Actually, it's going to be 5 years. So I arrived in 2016, in late 2016. So yeah,
Awesome. So, you seem to be a pretty young guy. How old are you, David?
I'm 37, going to be 38 in January.
Oh, okay. You actually look younger than that. So I was, um, are
Yeah.
you working?
Well, I look younger because of my mom, thanks to my mom's genetics. And am I working? So I think you asked me off camera if I was retired or not, and the answer to that is
Yeah.
no. The way that I came to Colombia was I was working selling insurance. At the time, I was selling commercial insurance, and
Okay.
it got to a point where I wasn't seeing any of my clients. I was doing all my sales over the phone from home. So then I thought,
Wow.
you know what? Let me change my cell phone to a virtual phone. And if I can do
Hmm.
that, I can work anywhere with internet. So I did that, and I decided to come check out Colombia because I've never been here, and I have friends from here who they were always posting pictures on Facebook. And I thought
Hmm.
Medellin looked very beautiful city, so I came, checked out the city, checked out the country, also tried out my business virtually. It worked, and I stayed. So that's how I ended up being here.
Wow. And my guess is I saw your last name. Are you Spanish background?
Yeah, fourth generation Mexican American, Texas. So, but my parents spoke Spanish fluently. They grew up speaking Spanish. They learned English in school in Texas, and then they didn't teach us Spanish. They spoke English to us, and Spanish to each other. So me and my siblings, we didn't learn Spanish growing up. I had to learn it when I was 22 years old. I moved to Mexico and lived there for a year when I was 22, and just learned it.
Very cool. So you had some experience already with the Spanish culture, learning Spanish, and then when you got to Medellin, you already spoke Spanish, or you were still kind of learning it?
Yeah, so I had experience with Spanish culture. I first went to Mexico to live there for the first 2 months when I was 18, right out of high school, because I wanted to learn Spanish. Had to come
Hmm.
back, help out the family business, and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go on my own terms, my own savings, saved up all my money, sold my truck, and then went back for a year. So I had that immersion in Spanish culture.
Hmm.
And then when I came to Medellin, I was pretty fluent in Spanish. Now my Spanish has gotten better, of course. And I've been
Sure.
living here for 5 years now, constantly speaking it, so it's gotten better.
And so, why did you choose Colombia? Like, what drew you to Colombia?
Okay, so that's a great question. For the longest time, I've wanted to live outside the country. Okay, and
Mhm.
I've already visited many other Latin countries in my previous
Mhm.
travels, and because of my business I was running with my insurance sales, I had to stay
Mhm.
within this hemisphere for the phone calls. I couldn't go to the Philippines. I mean, I could, but I'll be working at nighttime. I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
it all kind of came together. I wanted to live in a different country. I had to stay in this side of the world, and my
Mhm.
friends, they were posting pictures on Facebook of Medellin. So I sparked
Mhm.
my curiosity. I went and I checked it out, and I ended up loving it. And why do I love it? Because
Wow.
for me, Medellin kind of checked off all the boxes I was looking for in a place I wanted to live.
So, what are when you say check off all the boxes? What are some of the boxes that you look for?
Okay, so first of all, I love Latin culture. So all Latin
Mhm.
culture, I love it because they're it's very united. Like people want to be around other people. They want, like, for example, when I was first living in Mexico, and as an American, it wasn't very uncommon to go eat lunch by yourself. So I remember
Mhm.
I was with my roommates who were Mexican at the time, and I was leaving the house. They asked me, "Where are you going, David?" I'm like, "I'm going to go eat lunch." With who? Oh no, by myself. Why? What's the matter? You okay? I'll go with you. Don't worry. Wait, let me get, that's just the culture.
Yeah.
They don't, it's not independent like the States. And I love that. I love that
Yeah.
unity. So that was one box to check off. So that's pretty much anywhere in Latin America. The other
Sure.
things to check off was what I see in Medellin is, even though it's a Latin American country, it's organized. So a lot of
Mm.
other cities in Latin America is not that organized. A lot of corruption and that kind of stuff. But here in Medellin, they take a lot of pride in the city. The
Mm.
officials, the officials of the cities actually, you see where the tax dollars that they're charging, the tax money goes
Mm-hmm.
back into the city. You see the improvement they're making in the city, and me as a foreigner, I can appreciate that and say, wow, this is great. So Medellin
Yeah.
paisas, those that's what a person from Medellin is called, really takes pride in their city. So like the metro is super clean. There's no
Mm-hmm.
graffiti. There's no trash everywhere. Um, let's see what else. So it's not as perfect as the States. So you go back to the States and it looks
Mm-hmm.
like a cookie cutter. Everything's very perfect, right?
Right.
So and I like that about Latin America because I don't want
Mm-hmm.
total perfection. I want like I don't know what's going to be around the next corner. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
but it
for
has the
sure.
organization, and also the other thing is the corruption is not as corrupt. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what does that mean? When I was living in Mexico, when I first moved there, the first week I had to pay a bribe to the cops in Mexico.
Wow.
So the corruption in Mexico is crazy. And I love Mexico and I'm Mexican American, I have family in Mexico, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
The corruption is bad. Here in
Sure.
Medellin, I've never had to pay a bribe to the cops. Um,
Mm.
there's corruption here, but it's not as bad. It's a
Yeah.
less percentage basically. So that's another box. So there's just little things like that, and also the culture, the people,
Yeah.
the cost of living, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things I was looking for.
Do you think you would have a different experience? I mean, of course you would, but what kind of experience do you think somebody would have if they didn't speak Spanish fluently in Colombia? Do you know people who live there that don't speak Spanish fluently?
That's a great question. To answer your question, there are people here that live here that don't speak Spanish fluently, and they've been here for a while. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's very doable, especially the
Mm-hmm.
younger people here. I'm pretty sure, like in the Philippines, well, I think Philippines you speak more English there, but here the
Yeah.
younger people speak English. But to have better immersion in the culture,
Mm-hmm.
learning Spanish is really does help. You can get by, but you
Right.
won't get the full culture experience.
For sure. So I know most people love Mexican food, but I don't think a lot of people are familiar with Colombian food. But I think it's probably pretty good, like most of Latin America. Do you like Colombian food a lot?
Okay, so great question. I like Colombian food, but the
Hmm.
typical foreigner that comes to Colombia, especially in Medellin, complain about the food here. Their
Really?
main complaint is the food is bland. So
Mm.
you think of Mexican culture, you think of spiciness, you think of jalapenos, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Here it doesn't happen. Like my girlfriend, for example, her family can't stand spicy at all. So when I first moved here, that was one thing I missed a lot was like flavor and spiciness. But now being here for a while, I've become accustomed to the food, even to the point of when I leave the country, I miss it because it's plain, but
Hmm.
and it's simple, but it's good, and the ingredients are very good quality ingredients. So and and then of course they have international food here too. They have international restaurants. They also have a
Hmm.
salsa that's called ají, which is spicy. So
Okay.
you can just dump the ají on top of the food, and you're good.
What's like a typical Colombian meal, for example?
Okay, it's basic. It's basic. So you're gonna get when you
Hmm.
go to, for example, lunch in a typical Colombian restaurant. The
Hmm.
menu of the day, you're gonna get a soup to start. It could
Hmm.
be beans, like a bean soup. It can be a cream of any kind of vegetable, like cream of broccoli, cream of whatever. It could
Okay.
be a vegetable soup, so some kind of soup. And then you're
Hmm.
gonna get the main plate, which will be it'll have a rice. It might have another carb, like maybe a plantain, like a fried plantain or a potato. It's going to have a
Okay.
small salad, but it's not going to be like the salads back in the States. No, it's going to be like the iceberg lettuce with some onions and tomato mixed in. It's a very tiny thing. That's it. And then you're going to have and then you have the protein, so some kind of meat. So it'll be beef,
Hmm.
pork, chicken, or yeah, that's it. Those three meats, or so the protein. And then you're gonna have a drink, which would be some kind of juice, or
Hmm.
guarapo, which is sugarcane juice. And usually a small. The drinks here are small, and there's no refills.
And what about well, you said there's a lot of international food too. Like even at the grocery store, when you go grocery shopping, can you find a lot of Western type foods at the grocery store, or not really?
Okay. Mm, yes, not really. Not really. So most grocery stores here is going to have
Hmm.
just here in Colombia, they just have just the basics, man. They don't like
Hmm.
you go in the States, you see so many different varieties of canned foods, right? And here
Right.
their canned food is just peas, corn, and very very simple. And the produce section is very tiny too, versus in the States. So no, you're not going to get as much variety here, and it's going to be hard to
Hmm.
find American products. That being said, there is a store called Price Mart, which is actually a sister store of Costco. So
Okay.
it's a membership store, and it has all the like I've never been, but what I've heard was
Hmm.
it does have a lot of American products, but you have to pay that membership to get there.
Gotcha. So, what do you think, like an average single guy, what kind of cost of living do you think, wh- like an average, what kind of monthly income should you have?
Okay, so I'm actually right now in the process of keeping track of my expenses this
Hmm.
month. So the 19th will be the last day and see how much I spent overall. But when I first arrived here in Colombia, I wanted to kind of see how much I was spending. So this was with me not really watching how much I spend. I'm frugal by nature,
Sure.
but I was a member to two gyms. I was going out, breakfast and lunch and sometimes dinner, but dinner mostly in the house. Had my
Right.
girlfriend, taking her out on dates, movies, that kind of stuff. And at the end of the
Yeah.
month, I spent $1,400, and that's including rent and everything.
Wow. Okay. So that's going out on dates. That's going out to eat once or twice a day, even, right?
Right, exactly. And I would
Wow.
say the average would be you can live probably I know people living at $600, $800 a month
Hmm.
to 1,000 would be very comfortable. Would be comfortable. 1,400 would be very
Okay.
good comfort. And
Hmm.
if you want to be very comfortable, maybe 2,000, 2,500 a month.
Okay. And that seems pretty reasonable for most people, I think. Yeah.
Super. When I went back last year, I went to my friend's wedding in Monterrey, Mexico. He's from Monterrey,
Hmm.
and I went with my girlfriend here, and we were kind
Hmm.
of comparing prices, and it's cheaper here in Medellin than in Monterrey, Mexico, which surprised me.
How how good is the Colombian passport? Like I'm assuming your girlfriend is Colombian, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so how easy is it for her to travel to another country with a Colombian passport? Is it difficult or
I don't think so. I mean, I know like
not
going
too
to the
hard?
States is difficult. I mean, like most people
Sure.
that's not United States U.S. citizens, but they're open to many. I'm not quite sure which countries and how many, but
Hmm.
they travel. I think in the past there was like the stigma, right? So maybe,
Right, right.
but I believe that's kind of gone past. I mean, like Colombia's moved very far in that aspect.
Yeah. And I think that's like a big fear of a lot of people. A lot of people still think of it as being like the drug capital and it being very dangerous with the cartel. What's your experience in Medellin? Do you ever feel like that it's dangerous, or are there certain areas you shouldn't go into? And what's your experience with that?
Hmm. Okay, so yes, of course, there are certain areas you shouldn't go to unless you know people,
Hmm.
and that could be said in any city. In Houston, there was what's called Fifth Ward, which you don't want
Hmm.
to get stuck in Fifth Ward. When I was in the '90s, for example.
Yeah.
Uh, so that being said, there's dangerous places, but I
Hmm.
feel safer here than I do in the States, for example.
Mm.
Because for example, there is danger here, and things
Hmm.
could happen. I think the main thing that possibly could happen to somebody is theft, like petty theft. Okay. Uh, but when they come up to try to take something from you, they most likely will have a weapon, have a knife or a gun. But the simple thing to do is just give them what they're asking. That's what everybody knows. First,
Sure.
the first rule is don't no dar papaya. So no dar papaya means don't give papaya, which means don't be obvious with your stuff. Don't be walking around with your cell phone in your hand or
Right.
wearing a big gold chain. Don't be
Sure.
putting yourself out there. But if it does happen, just give it to them. And if you just give it to them, they won't hurt you. All they want is your stuff. But if
Right.
there has been cases where people have tried to resist or fight or run away, and then
Hmm.
they've gotten hurt. Yes. So,
And
but
would
that's go ahead.
are these incidents pretty rare though? Would you say?
Yes, yes, they're very rare because I've been here 5 years and
Hmm.
I've only been robbed once. And I would say me being robbed was almost my fault. Uh, I recently bought a motorcycle, a brand new top of the line motorcycle that was very coveted here. It was like one of the nice ones, the scooters.
Okay.
And I live in a neighborhood that's kind of empty at nighttime. And I was
Hmm.
returning home around dusk, and I put on the blinkers before I turned into my neighborhood. So anybody behind me saw I was going that neighborhood. Everybody knows it's empty. Everybody knows it's empty there, and the bad people too. So they just
Hmm.
followed me into my neighborhood, and I was learning how to drive a motorcycle. So I was driving slow, and when they pulled up
Hmm.
next to me, I stopped, and they had a gun, and they took everything. But my
Hmm.
my, I mean, other than that, I was riding my bicycle for 3 years before that, and nobody ever messed with me. So my bike is ugly, old. I'm not giving papaya, not showing off my
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it's very rare. It does happen. If it does happen, just give them your stuff, and they don't want to hurt you. Versus like in other countries,
Hmm.
there's other countries where you go to a bar, and if you look at someone the wrong way, or they feel that you looked at them the wrong way, you can get in a fist fight.
Right.
And that doesn't happen here. I've never seen that before ever. Going to bars or clubs and people getting fist fight over stupid things. You know.
Sure. So it just sounds like kind of be aware of your surroundings. Don't be flashy with a lot of jewelry, necklaces, having your iPhone out, and things like that.
It's like if you were to
So,
go to any major city that has a bit of crime. If you're walking around New York City at nighttime or whatever, you don't want
yeah.
to, show your valuables too much, right? So, or walk down empty alleys, or whatever, So,
What's the like the climate like in Medellin? What are some of the what kind of things do people like to do? I guess that's two questions,
okay,
but
so
I guess number one, the climate.
it's okay. So this city is known as the city of eternal spring.
Hmm.
So our weather is year round. Year round, it's in between 70 to 85 degrees.
Wow.
Okay, and it's beautiful. And the beautiful thing about Medellin is it's in a valley. So the valley is springtime weather, and in the mountains up top, if you want cold weather, you just drive up
Hmm.
40 minutes, and now you have
Hmm.
in between 40 to 55 degrees at nighttime, maybe 40 degrees, 45 degrees. Just 40 minutes up the mountain. All right. It's beautiful. And the other thing is, if you
Nice.
want summertime weather, it's another
Hmm.
like a 30-minute trip to a town close by that has
Hmm.
maybe 85 to 95-degree weather. So you have basically almost every climate 30 minutes away from you.
Wow. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that Colombia is the second most biodiverse country in the world, having the most different, um, different climates and different types of ecosystems. So that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
what kind of things do people like to do in Medellin? I heard that salsa is extremely big, or maybe it's not salsa. It's tango, merengue. I can't remember.
So yes, salsa is huge here. I believe
Salsa. Okay.
every type of dancing, every type of Latin dancing here. Actually, there's a big tango community here because
Hmm.
back, I'm not sure when it happened. I think in the 80s or 70s, there was a famous singer from Argentina who loved
Hmm.
Medellin. Medellin was like his second home. Unfortunately, he got a plane wreck and died, and
Hmm.
he left that tango culture here. So
Hmm.
tango is huge here. outside of Argentina. So dancing is very big. I would suggest people coming that want to make friends and go out with people. You don't have to know how to dance well. You just got
Hmm.
to get out and just dance and have fun. And if they know you're a foreigner, then if you have no
Yeah.
rhythm, they don't care. They're just happy you're trying. You know,
Yeah. That would be me. No rhythm.
it's okay. It's fine.
And so I guess one of the biggest questions that people are always going to ask, and they're going to ask, what is the dating scene like? Now, I'll ask a few follow up questions on it, but how's the dating scene?
Well, there's multiple types of dating scenes here. This is what you're looking for, right? So,
Yeah.
depends what you're looking for. So, if you want like a good girl, you want to have a relationship, uh,
Hmm.
it's very possible here. There's a lot of good girls here, a lot of good girls.
Yeah.
Um, I would say the best way to meet a good girl and get
Hmm.
in a relationship that way is make friends. So the dating scene, the way Colombians date and go out with each other is through
Hmm.
mutual contacts. Okay, so
Mm.
they're involved in groups, they're involved in classes, that kind of stuff. They make friends and friends of friends, and there you
Sure.
go. So mutual contacts. So that would be my recommendation. Get involved in groups. Find out what you enjoy doing, like your
Hmm.
hobbies, whatever it is. Find those groups that have those. So there's so many groups here. Get involved, make friends, and you'll through that you'll find somebody nice. I mean, the Tinder and all that kind of stuff uh,
Yeah.
is new here. When I first arrived to
Hmm.
Colombia 5 years ago, many girls that I met never didn't even know what that was or never even
Mm.
went on it. Now it's become more popular. Uh,
Right.
but I still think the traditional way of making friends, getting out there, is the
Hmm.
best way here still. Mm-hmm.
So, what would be your suggestion as far as like what types of groups and stuff to join, or where would you hang out if you're brand new going to Medellin?
Well, my suggestion is, what do you like to do? And then
Hmm.
find those groups that are doing that and get involved. So there's
Okay.
so much activities here. For example, there's a place called El Estadio, which is where all the sporting activities happen, and they
Hmm.
have sport. Like if you like sports, they have sporting groups from racquetball to everything. Everything's what's it called? Fencing, any kind of sport, kung fu, karate, boxing. Get involved in
Yeah.
that. Or if you like dancing, find a dancing group. If you like
Hmm.
languages, find a language exchange group. You know, just
Hmm.
get involved. Or and also getting to know people around your neighborhood. Like here in Medellin, the culture of being outside is huge. Like people
Mm.
love being outside. It's even like there's these simple stores that are just convenience stores, but they usually have tables
Hmm.
outside. And in the evenings, guys and girls will get in those tables. They'll buy a beer and
Hmm.
they'll be drinking beer and just talking to their neighbors. You know, so getting to know people around your neighborhood.
So like outdoor cafes, and I'm guessing the coffee scene's probably pretty huge in Colombia too.
um, it's becoming big. I mean, the small stores that I was talking
Hmm.
about with the beers, they also have something that's called tinto, which is coffee, small little coffee. But
Okay.
for the longest time, that was the type of coffee that Colombians drank, and that coffee is horrible because the best coffee from Colombia is exported to the countries that pay more money. So the
Hmm.
Colombians, for the longest time, were stuck with the worst coffee that was left behind,
Ah.
unfortunately. But now in the past years, some nice like posh cafes are opening up in the city. They're bringing in the gourmet coffee, so the coffee scene is getting better here for sure.
Gotcha. What would you say are some of the positives with the Colombian women? Like, what are some things that make Colombian women great?
Um, they're very approachable. Okay, they're very
Hmm.
approachable. They're gonna treat you like you can walk up to anybody, a woman or man, whatever, and just talk to
Hmm.
them. You know, so in that aspect of just talking to people, it's great. So I love that. No, now, if they're not interested in you,
Hmm.
they'll still talk to you, but it'll be very obvious they're not really interested. They won't be rude to you, but of course they'll
Right.
be nice. That's one thing. Other thing is they're happy, like just want to have a good time. They want to go out dancing.
Hmm.
What's other things? It's like the girls I know. like my girlfriend, for example. I'll speak in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
It Sometimes we can't think of nothing to do, so we just go to the park and bring a board game and play a board game in the park. You know, pack a couple
Very cool.
sandwiches and drinks, and that's our time we spend together. So it's real simple. Or
Awesome.
like they don't need the extravagant things. I guess in my experience, maybe there's of course there's all types of girls here. So I'm just
Sure.
generalizing.
Do you, are they very they're very old-fashioned, family-oriented still, would you say?
Yes, that's massive. So the family oriented is very uh, here is very important because I've made a video about this before.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking to a Colombian girl and that girl is interested in you and sees that there's potential relationship, expect to
Mm-hmm.
meet her family very soon
Mm.
because the family approval is almost the most important thing. If I went, I think it was like within the first week of us saying, "Hey, let's be boyfriend girlfriend." Within the first week, I was meeting the parents. Okay,
Wow.
um,
Wow.
and I think if the parents didn't like me or if I came off bad, our relationship wouldn't have worked out. So,
If you don't mind me asking, how old is your girlfriend?
you broke up a little
Oh,
bit.
sorry. If you don't mind me asking, how old is your girlfriend?
She is 26.
So in you're 37, so you have 11 years, which really is not a big deal. Even in the West, it really wouldn't be a big deal. But like in the Philippines, age gap is pretty common here. A lot of expats have 20-year age gaps. How is it in Colombia? Like, I mean, you're still relatively young. I'm in my 40s, but guys who are watching this may be in their 50s or 60s. What would you tell guys who are older? Like, how's the dating for like older guys, do you think?
Um, so I believe in my situation, I look younger, as you mentioned before in the video, so I can come
Mm-hmm.
off younger than 37. But with
Yeah,
that being said, the age gap, I mean, it's okay. It's not as looked at as being a weird thing like in the States as it is here. So here it's more accepted. So I would say
sure,
maybe 12 to 15, maybe 20-year difference could work. Now, if it's
sure.
like 65-year-old guy dating a 25-year-old girl, I mean, it happens, but there's other reasons behind it, right? Yeah, you got it.
Right. And
Yeah, you got it. But
that's probably anywhere too, I would guess. Yeah.
yes, but like for example, a 46-year-old guy dating a
Mhm.
28-year-old girl, uh, if the girl can still be attracted to him,
Mhm.
and yeah, that happens here for sure.
Gotcha. So we talked about like safety and dating. Would you say infrastructure is good, like the electric and water, internet, housing? Would you say it's relatively good?
So let me make a quick comment on the other question you asked me about the if girls are still traditional here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because that's important for your people who's listening. Um, the younger generation, I would say 35 and below, uh,
Mhm.
don't expect the traditional woman who stays at home is going to cook and clean and treat you like like the back in the 50s.
Right.
Here in Colombia, women are very independent, and it's
Mm.
great because there's like girls here have very high level jobs. Like my girlfriend, for example, is director of finance in a very big company. So she's
Wow.
very educated, has
Mhm.
a good career going on. Um, and that's where they go towards. They go towards the career. Now, I would say
Mhm.
they're more family oriented than back in the States, for
Mhm.
example. But if you want the more traditional woman, like the quote unquote back in the 50s, you're probably going to
Yeah.
have to look for somebody maybe in their 40s and above, like
Mm.
38 and above, possibly in that generation.
Sure. Oh, one more thing on the dating before we go to the infrastructure. So we talked about a lot of positives. Do you see any negatives? Because with Latin women and Filipino women have Latin in them. They're like the only Asian country that has, Spain ruled the Philippines, so they have the Latin mix. But jealousy is like a wide, like with Latin women, you always hear about jealousy. Is that true? Would you say?
So that there's always truth behind stereotypes. I mean, it wouldn't be a
Yeah.
stereotype if there wasn't truth behind it, right? So yeah, I would say yes, there's jealousy here. Now I think I hit
Hmm.
a gold mine because my girlfriend's the least jealous girl I've ever been with.
Wow.
So there's always exceptions to the norm. And actually,
Hmm.
I have a few friends who are girls who also aren't the jealous type, but there's jealousy here for sure, and passion. I mean,
Sure.
uh, when they get angry, they're angry, right? But again, I
Yeah.
hit the gold mine because my girlfriend's pretty level-headed. So
Awesome. Would you say, are there any other negatives that you see?
well, I mean, the family thing, like I love the fact that they're so family oriented and so closely knit
Hmm.
family. I love that. But at the
Hmm.
same time, that could be a negative because if you don't get along with maybe an uncle or the
Mm,
brother or whatever, you gotta suck it up because that's part of the culture, you know.
true.
It
Yeah.
right in the States, I mean, it's easy to move to another state and never like see your family once a year or twice a year, but here you're gonna be seeing the
Yeah.
family quite often. I'm pretty sure the same in the Philippines.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Um, and has your girlfriend picked up some English, or has she learned a little bit, or not really? You guys are communicate solely in Spanish.
So she spoke English before we met. Like she's basic
Oh.
English.
Hmm.
We mostly speak in Spanish. Uh, yeah, it's just easier. We speak in Spanish, that kind of stuff. But and she's here in Colombia
Sure.
as well. A lot of people speak English, but they're shy. Like they're shy to mess
Mm,
up. They want to speak perfect, so they won't. But
right.
especially younger people, they understand English.
Gotcha. All right. Last topic, because we've been going about 30 minutes here. But infrastructure. How's the infrastructure? Like when I say infrastructure, like the housing, are the apartments decent? Electric, internet? Do you have like blackouts or water's turned off for all day?
Apologize for the
Oh,
noise.
they're
So,
they're coming. They're coming for you.
um, they're coming for me. Yeah, they're coming for me. I'm in the house. Um, so infrastructure, no, everything's good here. Everything works well. Like the internet works
Hmm.
well. Um, Sometimes there'll be like the water be cut off, but that's like maybe once a year, in the entire
Oh,
neighborhood because
okay.
maybe they're working on something, which is normal.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
infrastructure is very nice here, especially in Medellin. Things just work,
Hmm.
especially public transportation. You come here, it's very easy to get around the city with the metro, with the buses. The taxes are super cheap. You can get from one side of the city to the other side of the city and not spend more than $6 on a taxi. So.
Wow. Awesome. And I guess the last question, and then I know you have a YouTube channel, so we'll talk about that. But how is the whole COVID-19 thing that's going on right now? Is it really strict? Do you have to wear a mask? The whole social distance? Are you only allowed out on certain days? Like how's it in Medellin?
Okay, so yeah, I think Medellin and Colombia, especially Medellin, has been one of the strictest
Hmm.
out there. We've had,
Hmm.
I think, in the whole world, we've had the longest lockdown so far. So we started in March and we're
Oh,
still in it. Um, but they kind of let us for a brief moment of time. They relaxed the restrictions and we all went
hmm.
out and then the it spiked again. So right now we're back into from Friday to Sunday every weekend where we can't leave the house. And then one
Okay.
day of the week, based on our ID, we can go
Hmm.
do our essential shoppings like the grocery store, the banking, that kind of stuff. One day of the week, and then
Wow.
the other. See, Monday is Monday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, We're allowed to go outside and do exercise, but we have to wear a mask. We have to keep social distance. In the metro, they have the police officers checking the ID and make sure you're wearing the mask, that kind of stuff. So they're taking
Wow.
precaution over here, for sure.
So so pretty strict, really. Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's pretty strict, but I think they have to be because they don't. I think
Sure.
the main reason is the infrastructure, like the hospitals, they don't want to overwhelm it, all at once.
Absolutely. Well, similar to here in a lot of areas, but here it's starting to get better where I'm living, and then other areas are not are similar to what you just described. So, awesome. So we've been going 35 minutes. I'm not going to keep you all night here, or I guess more, 10. I think it was what is it, 10:30 or so? Actually almost 11 o'clock in the morning, right?
Right. You're
Or
like midnight.
midnight, yeah. So you have a channel. You said you started it about 3 months ago. Is your channel's name Life with David? Is that the
Yes, Life with David is still small. We're growing steadily, but if you want to look me up, is the best way to do is Life with David Medellin or Life with David Colombia. I'll come up. My thumbnails are ugly. It's just me walking around the streets, but you'll see my peripheral like this. And basically, what I do is because many people came here to Medellin, like travelers, they spend like a week or two, they do some videos and they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the videos on YouTube were focusing on Poblado, which is like the main tourist area, Parque Jerez, which is like the party area, and
Uh-huh.
maybe Laureles. So like focus on maybe 2 or 3 places. And there's so much more to the city than that. So I was kind of
Sure.
getting fed up with just seeing that on YouTube. And
Okay.
also a lot of YouTubers just focusing on the women here, which women here are beautiful, but there's so
Mm-hmm.
much more to culture, like to the culture than just the women. So I started my
Absolutely.
channel. I do a lot of walk and talk tours showing all around the city, all the different neighborhoods. Um, I like to interact with people, but right now, because of what we're going through, it's kind of hard to
Sure.
go close to strangers and talk to them. So, but in the future, I plan
Yeah.
to interact more with the culture, the people. So yeah, so to see like more of Medellin and also more of Colombia, check out my channel.
Awesome. Well, I will scroll it across the bottom, and I will also put a link in the description of your channel for people. And I, for one, will subscribe because, like I said, it was actually the very first place that I was interested in going to. I don't speak Spanish fluently. However, I grew up with Italian parents because my first name is actually Giovanni, and so I go by Gio for
Uh-huh.
short. And Italian is very similar to Spanish, being a Latin language. So it was pretty easy for me to pick up like a lot of it. Like I don't, I wouldn't starve if I landed in Colombia tomorrow. I would probably do just fine. I wouldn't be talking politics or religion or anything right away. But yeah, I think if you have a Latin language, if you know one, another Latin language comes pretty easily. So. Yeah, so awesome.
For sure.
I really appreciate your time, David. You seem like a really cool guy, and I wish you the best of luck. And hopefully your channel grows, and hopefully we can do this again, maybe after this whole lockdown and quarantine's done, and check back in with you.
100%. And one of my subscribers wanted me to ask you,
Mm,
because the Philippines was colonized by Spain. Uh,
yeah.
do many people speak Spanish in the Philippines or not? Not really.
No, they have like a sprinkling of Spanish words throughout their language. So, they'll be speaking Filipino and you'll hear Spanish words throughout it. But there's one area in the Philippines that actually still speaks Spanish. So it's a little bit of a watered
Oh,
down
very cool.
Spanish. Yeah. But
Uh-huh.
the Philippines is
Okay.
really interesting because it's like Asia meets Latin America, like mixed together. And it's like, you got like China, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, and then you got the Philippines, which is like this Latin mix. And so it's really interesting. Um,
That's so
but
cool.
but a lot of people are really interested in Latin America. And so Colombia is one of the top choices, I think, for a lot of people. So
It's going to become huge. It's going to become, I think, the next expat destination, like the number one, because
I
it
think
is,
so.
like I said, checks all the boxes. But when you come to Medellin, let me know. I'll show you around for sure.
That sounds awesome. So cool, David. So I
I
appreciate your time, man.
appreciate it.
Okay. Take
All
care,
right. Take
David.
care. Bye bye.
See ya.